Hi guys, this is Breaker, and I'm back again with another replay that I took from the front page of Drop.sc. It appears that this seems to be between two very high-level Masters League players, and in the lower right-hand corner, spawning as our red Protoss, is just Barcode Toss, or should I just call him Bartoss? Bartoss sounds a little funny, so I'll just call him Barcode Toss. In the upper left-hand corner, spawning as our blue Terran. He belongs to Team iMp. I'm not sure what that stands for, but it's Smylodon. And for those of you who didn't know already, I am now in Korea, Daegu. Pretty far from Seoul, but I can be there in a 2-hour bullet train ride. So while I'm here, I plan on attending 1, maybe 2 different GSL events, and just see how that goes. The only problem is I have to really find a schedule for it and figure out when my favorite caster is actually going to be there, and that would have to be, of course, of all the casters that are there right now. Artosis is a great guy. Tasteless is awesome. Wolf, these other guys, you know, they're really awesome. But at the same time, I really want to meet Kaldor. The reason why is it just seems like he's such a really chill personality when it comes to casting. But since we do have a bit more fill-in time to go with, I don't think my university studies, what I mean by my university studies, discussing them with you would not be the most important priority right now. Instead, let's just go ahead and talk about the map. Now, we do have a TVP matchup going down, so I'm thinking what we could see more than likely will be a lot of drop play, as there is a ton of wide open space here, and it's so very difficult for a Protoss to actually thoroughly manage that wide open space and keep vision of it, unless they perhaps go with Phoenix Colossi as a kind of opener. And this is rather interesting. Smylodon is just going to go with double command center opener. Not entirely unexpected, but I thought the positioning of the supply depot at the beginning was rather awkward, but it makes sense given that without it he could not actually stay up here, and thus he could actually end up being proxied. And the immediate follow-up is going to be just a single barracks. And perhaps we'll see it gradually followed up with a factory and a starport, or maybe just a direct bio transition. Yes, I do retract that statement now that I see barracks number 2 on the way. And for those of you who don't already know, I'm going to be casting the SWL in English with an observer position. And beyond that, I actually, you know, I'm looking forward to the rest of the semester here in Korea. Whenever I'm not studying or at the gym or doing my homework, I should be here casting. Alright, so now it looks like our SCV is going to go in here from Smylodon, and he's going to figure out just what's going down here. And pardon me if my casting sounds a little bit off, as this has been only the second cast in the past 10 days that I have performed. Beyond that, some barracks have finished up. The forward bunker is going down at the top of the choke. Interesting choice from Smylodon. But at the same time, rather safe. I wouldn't say overtly safe, as he could always, you know, he could always get a 75% refund for that. But ooh, this is interesting. The Twilight Council. I think that actually went unscouted by Smylodon. Yes, it did. So what he's going to do now is he's going to send his SCV around and make sure there's no proxy Stargates or anything like that. And it makes perfect sense to me, because it would seem like it's the extremely typical kind of play you would see from a Protoss player on this map. And I must admit that with the positioning of this pylon that we have right here, I actually thought that we would see the Twilight Council and then maybe the Dark Shrine going down here. But the Twilight Council, speaking of, has just finished up, and it's been followed up with a Dark Shrine. So there's a lot of risk in what we see coming from our Barcode Protoss, but at the same time, what he doesn't risk, he gets rewarded with. And I think the biggest problem is, perhaps, just perhaps, he is going blind. He could be getting tricked up just a little bit. Yeah, he's going blind. And he could be trying to trick up his opponent with these double stalkers. Perhaps lead him into thinking, okay, well, going with a blink stalker kind of play, perhaps. But now he sees, you know, he just scans it. All he sees is all of this in a forge. So perhaps, just perhaps, there's some part of Smylodon thinking, okay, no proxy Stargate, very little in the way of tech being scouted. What could my opponent be doing? And I think what we have right now is somewhat acceptable, but It's going to be so close because, I mean, we have the Dark Shrine on the way right now. The energy on these orbital commands are actually really low. They're not going to be able to do any scans for quite a while. And if we see the DTs adequately spread, then Smylodon could take a ton of damage from this. The second bunker going down as well, as he is not feeling too comfortable, perhaps getting a little bit queasy after just scouting only a forge. Nothing being made just yet. The Dark Shrine is ready. My roommate just walked in. Hi. What's that Jumbo Eagle? You'll see. So, this is basically how it works out. He's got 2 bunkers full of Marines, and he's got a lot more Marines behind that. So he's got adequate defenses, but they may not be able to adequately keep up with these DTs that have just entered the battlefield. The missile turret is only now going down. Scan gets forced, and the DTs are able to outmaneuver all of the Marines for now. There's still enough energy for one more scan. That did just go down, and that eliminates all the DTs. So far, so good from our Blue Terran. And I don't want to say this is too much of a deficit that we see coming from our Protoss, but at the same time, those DTs were meant to do so much damage. And if we just check and see how many SCVs there are right now, there's 37 to the 32 probes that we have out on the map. And if he had just killed maybe 5 or 10 of them, he would be in an okay position, he would be acceptable. But if he had actually managed to kill 15, that would have been game-ending damage, I guess you could say. 无所谓吧，你可以走下来，需要我的帮忙吗? Okay. But the follow-up from this is actually very interesting. At Templar Archives, start defenses going down at each of the mineral blinds. Because, of course, our barcode Protoss does know that this is going to be bioplay. Bioplay usually is complemented best by medevacs, which are now in production. And if we just check the supply difference right now, it's rather substantial. I mean, it's huge. And the thing is, Smylodon is essentially blind right now. He does have a few High Templars in his main, yes, but he doesn't have any vision of what's going on in the skies just yet. Unlike the ZVT matchup, Protoss has no way of just putting vision out here so freely, and just overproducing on observers can make all the difference. That could be, 2 observers makes 1 High Templar, if you will, in terms of food count. But now we have our Terran moving out. His combat shield's just finished up. He's got +1 that's just about to finish up, and he's also getting passive shells. Meanwhile, in the background, beyond all of this, we have, I don't know, do we have Storm? We do have Storm. It is researched, but we don't have enough energy on some of these High Templar just yet. It should be ready to go just as the Marines hit the front lines. And there's a DT, two Stalkers, no force fields to speak of to hold this, this forward engagement, if you will. And this medevac is just coming up here to see, okay, is it clear? Can I come up here and engage? And it seems for the most part, Smylodon's just going to back off for the time being. I think he saw the High Templar and he's like, okay, don't want to engage this the wrong way, because if I do, I lose a lot. And instead what he does is he goes ahead and throws down the Ghost Academy behind this. Acceptable move, but at the same time we also see a lot of infrastructure here. This is, I feel, almost too many gateways, but I don't play Protoss, I don't play Terran, so I have no way of adequately measuring this matchup. Meanwhile, back at home, tons of energy. Absolutely tons of energy being floated on these orbital commands. I'm not exactly sure why. And simultaneously, our Protoss, he hasn't gotten any upgrades, so I'm wondering just what this is all about. And now, double medevac drop going into the main. But it looks like all the High Templar, there's only 1 ready here to actually throw down a single feedback. It could take down one of those medevacs. Oh boy! And I think there was enough energy to make them explode. Well, almost on one. Almost on another as well. But this is a very interesting unit composition that we see our red Protoss moving out with, and not something that you see all the time. Meanwhile, back at home, Smylodon is looking for things to spend his minerals on, more than just Marines. He's actually getting Hellbats in the mix as well. Hellbats, because even though they're light units, they have about 10 more HP than Marauders. They actually do fairly well versus Zealots, but I'm wondering if perhaps there's just too much here. I mean, sure, there are no force field sentries available, but at the same time, we have to see this engage so very carefully. He's pulling STVs along to the right, I think trying to do an all-in, if not just simply try to defend. Meanwhile, the EMPs go down, and they are so beautiful on that entire army, but meanwhile, there was still 2 storms left, and it looks like all of the EMPs have been exhausted. The leftover Archons are morphing in the middle of all this. Scan goes down to eliminate any DPs with the army, and there we go, our barcode Protoss has just left the game, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so let's see how that went. Make sure I had the right window open on XSplit. Yeah, sorry. I am back to just using a single monitor to cast from now on. I still haven't lost too much in the way of weight just yet, and I guess we're just going to have to wait until the SWO kicks in later on tonight. I'll catch you guys later.